is the Red Eye Report.
All
right, I'm out of here.
Fuck you guys. All right. Well, two of us now, me and Teddy, are officially laid off.
Mystic and everybody in the fucking street. Go and tell
Mystic and Oracle.
Air my laundry.
They all got jobs. We know who to come after. So
but, I mean, you're in the same condition as me. You get your job back when stuff goes back to normal.
Yeah, hopefully we'll go back to. I say best case scenario in probably 4 or 5 weeks I can be working part time. But so the economic doom loop. Doom loop is a term that's basically described as a virtuous circle in which banks, to try to get higher and higher yields, they take bigger and bigger risks. In order to get higher yields, they take bigger risks because in the back of their mind, they're like, the banks, the state, the government will bail us out if we bust. Mm-hmm. And then the governments are forced to have to break their promise of never again when the banks fuck up. And then because the bank or the state can't just say no without basically breaking the entire economic system and having to start over. So they have to dump money in to keep the liquidity of the system going. So in a sense, we haven't actually really fixed any of the problems of the financial crisis from 2008. We fixed some of the banking regulations where the banks aren't as weak as they used to be, but we still have a number of problems, which I'm going to try to race through here. I mean, coronavirus aside, it was essential. Coronavirus was just like the fucking punk ass kid who came and kicked the loose fucking leg out of the bar stool of our economy, and we were already wobbly. So you've probably all heard about the pension problem, or people talking about.
Well, basically every city has like a major pension problem, doesn't it? Like,
and what that essentially is, to I guess better understand it, is that a lot of these baby boomers, because now all these baby boomers are starting to retire. A lot of them who had, especially state and city workers, who worked and were promised these pensions with these certain payouts based on how long they worked. And the thing is, all these payouts and promises, which were actually, they were implemented and backed up legally by the state itself. The government, the thing is, it's based on math that now isn't adding up. These pensions, to try to get more and more funds, like to try to make a bigger yield, they've been investing in like a lot of corporate debt, and they're investing in things that are way more risky than they should be. And say like they invest in a certain chunk of corporate debt from say Amazon, and it has a 2% yield. Well, and the economy starts to tank. Amazon's probably a bad example because think of like an older company, GE, General Electric. They have all kinds of corporate debt where that corporate debt, when the economy downturns, instead of yielding 2%, it's yielding only 1%. But when you take 2% to 1%, and you're doing the math out to payouts for people's pensions, that's like, to make up for that difference, you have to double what that 1% is to still make up for what you promised these pensioners. And it's like, it's at a point, it's coming to a point where it's gonna be like, sorry, like the promises we made for you, and those riots that were happening over in Greece and Italy and France and stuff, is because like they're trying to basically rewrite and having to break these promises. That's why these people are freaking the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
We've just been kind of kicking the can down the road. The problem is that we've got all these baby boomers right now, which is like a mass, retirement effect. And the thing with retirees is the closer you get to retirement, and once you are in retirement, you spend less money. You just naturally start spending, and usually, ideally, you already have a house, and like you've got at least enough stuff that you aren't spending like you did 20 years prior. When you have that large of a demographic that's not spending that kind of money anymore, that is a actual economic drain, or like the money that would be going into the economy through these companies, which is what this corporate debt is tied to, which the pension funds are invested in, which is what pays out these people who are not spending as much money. So it becomes this cycle where it's basically shit's going to hit the fan. That's just the pension.
I think I just figured it out. This virus was developed by these corporations.
Could be.
To kill off
the boomer remover.
All the fucking pensioners.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to pay their pension.
I mean, I joked about it that it was like what would maybe fix our Social Security dilemma.
Yeah.
But
I guess, yeah.
It's
I mean, it sucks to say, and you know, obviously, it's not only going to be old people, but
yeah. Well, so that's the pension problem. That's just one facet of the economy. Another you probably heard about is the corporate share buybacks. So or stock buybacks.
Well, I'm hearing about them now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. Ashtray's been bitching about it forever. So,
I have not ever heard you once bitch
I don't
about
know
a
that I've
company
ever
buying
heard you.
back their stocks.
Yeah.
I heard you bitch about the economy and you buy.
Well, the thing is the stock buy. I'm sure I've mentioned that the rally on the stock market, the majority of all that growth has been stock buybacks by companies. It's not actually that like the companies are selling that much more stuff, or that they're that they've innovated some new product. The actual like percentage of growth in the overall market value for these different markets, the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, is the fact that these corporations are buying back their stock. And what that means is, say Apple has 100 shares out there, just use a number, and each share is worth $100. Well,
Spider-Man.
If Apple buys, say they're like, well, we're going to buy 20 of those shares back. Well, there's now only 80 shares left in the pool for the market. Because there's less shares, each share is actually worth more money now. That's what it looks like to the market. And it's kind of it's an accounting trick. So the stockholders are like, oh, look at how much the stock's going up. But the fact that the company is essentially borrowing, some of them anyways are heavily borrowing money to buy their own stocks back, which increases the value of each stock. And in turn, the upper management has heavy stock options as part of their compensation. So it's a way of making themselves rich by just reducing the
without
quantity.
the public knowing that they gave themselves a bonus.
Yeah,
exactly. And the only people who would basically, with their, in a sense, they're raping the shareholders. But the shareholders don't really realize it because they just see the number of that value of the stock that they own going up.
Right.
But the thing is that value is
hey,
based
fuck you, man.
on,
That number looks awesome.
The value is based on a smaller piece of the pie.
Yep,
right.
Exactly. It's just divvied up in a smaller piece of the pie.
Right.
And so that for one thing, a lot of people don't even realize it because there's fucking a whole lot of shit going on in the news right now. But Bob Iger, CEO of fucking Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did he sell off a bunch of his stocks?
Yeah, he might
He's
drop
dropped a
just
bunch of...
no warning. I am stepping down.
Really?
This is like February.
Yeah, that was. I remember that.
Looked it up. It was like late February, I think.
Mm-hmm.
like 21st or something like that, and it's the the fact that like he saw that motherfucking writing on the wall. Yeah, this was February 25th, so it was the day before, February 24th. Um, he just, and of course, he sees the writing on the wall. He isn't going to say a damn word to anyone because it'll spook the market. He's just like, well, just stepping down. And he's cashing out those fucking fat hog Disney stocks, which are super inflated because of Disney Plus right now.
Yep.
And there have been economists who've
Disney stock is about 200. I think it's about $220 a share.
God damn.
No, wait, I'm sorry, 120. I'm gonna check and see.
The thing is, there have been people who, economists, there's some who believe that Disney is overvalued. Granted, there's a lot of companies that are overvalued right now, so it's not like it's a Disney only thing. But
even right now, though, with the fucking market being down as much as it is.
Oh well, I mean, the thing is, the markets, we haven't hit the bottom yet, but the market's gone down in part because those highs were artificial highs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
like those highs got that way because for the majority of it is those stock buybacks inflated that price. And now when everybody like has to turn tail and run,
yeah.
Now the values are all going down. That's why Bob Iger stepped down and cashed his stocks out because it's called crystallizing your losses. When either you see that things are going to go down or shit starts going down, people panic and they cash out basically. Just like, let me take what I got because if I stay any longer, it's just going to drop. And if I cash out now, at least it's in cash.
Yeah. And then you can buy it back at a lower price because it's going to rebound.
Yeah, or exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a lot of the smart investors will do. They wait till shit hits bottom and then buys them back at a
entire plot line of fucking trading places, for fuck's sake.
Mm-hmm. So the
Mortimer.
That is where that's one sector in itself that the corporate debt and corporate buybacks is what's created a big bubble in itself of the markets. Then we have the repo market. I probably did a fuck what you think about that at some point. Since September of last year, they've been pumping money, billions of dollars into the Federal Reserve has been pumping billions of dollars into the repo market. And a lot of people don't know anything about it because it's not an everyday thing. It's basically almost they call it shadow banking. It's a market where big banks lend to other big banks. And it's so that they have, say, bank needs to have $100 billion of actual liquid capital to meet all their payments out and whatnot, whether it be their daily operations or anything for that period of time. They sometimes they don't actually have the liquid, $100 billion on hand, so they can borrow the liquid asset from another bank. They give, usually in collateral, they give like treasuries. And then basically the promise is that you give us this $100 billion, we need it for, a day or so. But because we're also getting on their books, it shows, well, we're getting $120 billion in payments at the end of that day. So we'll get that money back and then we'll pay you back on a little bit of interest. And that actually happens all the time. And normally it's like banks do that behind the scenes. None of us really know. And it's just like, that's part of the financial market. Problem is at some point in September, the actual interest rates to borrow that money like spiked, like straight up, went from what normally was like 2% because interest rates have been kind of low to begin with, went up to like 10%.
Damn.
And you're like, the fuck? And it's like banks are like, wait, we have to make payroll, because some institutions, it's like, well, just to make payroll and stuff. And like, or it's in payroll is not necessarily their own payroll, but it's like, say, payroll for all their own clients. Think of a large bank has the accounts of big corporations within them. And those big corporations have to pay out all their employees.
Yeah.
So sometimes be like, okay, well, this, at this time, like, we're going to need this much money in reserve because it's going out. It's just the part of the fluidity. They call liquidity, and that's the problem is when liquidity seizes up, shit hits the fan. So when that spike went up in the interest rate, all of a sudden it's like, oh, fuck, we can't get our money to pay our dues. So the Fed just like, oh, shit, turn on the fucking printer. And they've been dumping billions of dollars into the repo market since then. It's been kind of going down, kind of up. And at one point they thought they kind of had it. And then, of course, just like a week ago or so, it's just like, went all the shit. Basically what it is like the Fed will say, oh, here's like here's $45 billion today to like dump into basically the black hole of the demand for what the banks want. But the banks will be like, well, we need actually $85 billion today. So it's like there's more demand than even what the Fed is dumping in. The problem is that most of these economists, nobody really knows why. Probably because if it's like some bank or something, some of the big banks are like illiquid. Essentially, they're bleeding money. Like they can't meet their own obligations, and so they're having to request more out of the repo market. Then
they keep on asking for more candy.
Exactly, they keep asking for more candy because.
How does this affect us?
How does this affect us? Because it's increasing for the repo market, anyways. It's increasing the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, and in doing so, it's like increasing our country's debt level. Okay. Our country is unique in the sense that we are the global reserve currency, which means that most global trade, especially this happened after World War II. It used to be the British pound, I think. And so most global trade is done through US dollars. So say one country's currency has to be transferred into dollars to sell their goods to this other country who will buy it for dollars, and then they transfer those dollars back to their own local currency. The thing is, yeah, it's a prime status. And in the short term, while the shit's hitting the fan of the world, the strength of the dollar is going to go up because it's the global currency. Everybody's going to. Right now, there is technically what they call a shortage of the dollar, where literally a lot of these economies are trying to, whether it be cashing in trades or making these transactions before shit's all hitting the fan across the world. And the actual like US dollars out there is there's not as many dollars out there as they want, which then makes the value of each US dollar worth more. So, and that's one of those things too, where it's a deflation thing, where when your dollar becomes stronger, like too much deflation can actually be harmful for the economy as well. And so the thing is, if we keep our printing press on, we keep printing. For the short term, other countries will come back swarming in here to investment. But if at some point the world, and my fear is that they may just decide, let's go to China, because at least China shut down or at least stomped their coronavirus enough to get back to work. And if we go to hell here, if they decide, maybe the Chinese yen's a little more stable as a global currency, and they slowly just decide to all start shifting over that way, then that kind of like gold status that we've had in the world of our currency value it would just disappear, and then who knows how devalued it could go. Like inflation could go through the fucking roof.
Well, we're not on a gold standard, are we?
No, I'm not saying. I didn't say anything about the gold standard.
He's saying we were the gold standard. We are
the. Okay. Yeah. We're
okay. Yeah.
Global reserve currency.
I got you.
And then
we'd have to go invade somebody to take that shit back, and it's not gonna get pretty.
Sorry, brown people.
Well, and then like that whole thing, like we
bomb brown people.
In the Gulf War, we're like, oh yeah, we're doing it all for the oil. That leads to a whole nother financial fucking doom story. The oil wars right now going on between Russia and Saudi Arabia, you may have heard something about it, because of all the coronavirus going on right now. It's easily, but it's economically, it's shook the markets probably more than the coronavirus. Well, the thing is, what it is
I
like
thought he was gonna say that too, but he didn't, and I'm disappointed.
oil and
all that build up for nothing.
Or Saudi Arabia and Russia didn't come to an agreement.
Like sex with Ashtray.
Like OPEC, yeah, I know, right? It's a whole lot of noise.
Yeah,
ending in a quiver.
And then just a poof.
You just have a bottle of whiskey in your hand.
Yeah, you just noticed that now.
Right, he's got problems.
He does.
Fucking Ashtray's teaching us about economics. Fucking sipping out a bottle of whiskey.
The oil wars, Russia and Saudi Arabia through OPEC couldn't come to an agreement on the fucking oil prices, right? So what do? They both decide, well, fuck you. I can make oil cheaper than you can. No, I'll fucking make oil cheaper than you. They're basically both just turning their production on full steam. Which, what does that do? It increases supply. When you have too much supply for demand, the price goes down. And it's
they run out of their oil.
Problem in this.
It is chasing. It's basically saying like, well, if the price of my the good I produce, if the price of it is going down, then I'm going to produce as much of that good as possible to try to get as much money as I can, even though the price is going down. Even though that is like a doom cycle in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Flooding the market.
Yep. And so they're both, just like flooding the market right now. And there's actually a high price right now for oil tankers, like oil tankers that don't already have a scheduled shipment. People are basically paying oil tankers just to fill them up because they're running out of space to put all this extra oil that they're pumping onto the ground.
Wow.
So who knows, like with the economic downturn on top of that, and then the oil prices,
and nobody's out driving around and shit.
Yes, nobody's driving around just for coronavirus. It's not like anybody's going to
touch my car in 5 days.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you think about it, who knows how, low it could go because the demand is, and think of all the petrol products like plastics and stuff like that, like all the shit we normally use in our day-to-day stuff.
We're fucked, Ashtray.
Exactly. I'm trying to see if there's any other plague. Oh, no,
That's why he has a whiskey bottle in his fucking hand.
yeah, right?
Because we're fucked.
Exactly. Another thing, too.
Is that Liquorman's?
It is Grandix blended Scotch whiskey. 12 years. It's probably.
I want to get some of that Liquorman's, that Trailer Park Boys whiskey. Liquorman's Canadian whiskey.
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
shit.
Is it an actual
I
brand?
bet you that shit would suck. Yeah, they sell it. I bet you it would suck totally.
Yeah, I learned a long time ago not to drink cheap alcohol. I had a bad night with Pop Off vodka one night, and
Oof.
Yeah.
The other, I guess this would be maybe a possible
Tell me how you feel.
Silver lining or like a bright spot, because the kind of like big macroeconomic forecast is that this doom cycle is going to keep going, and like whether it be the world shifts to like China, another country's currency. A lot of people are forecasting that it's probably going to go towards a crypto type currency. Even though a lot of people are like, oh, fucking these Bitcoin, conspiracy theory nerds. The thing is, there's economists, and this one guy I follow is saying that he hasn't seen this kind of a brain drain before. The people, like some of the smartest people he knows from finance, technology, science, are all going, basically like leaving their fields or taking their knowledge from their field and putting it in towards cryptocurrency. And he says it doesn't matter whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum. Like it's kind of, there's this collective, what was this quote here? They're creating a hive mind to rebuild the financial custody, ownership, transfer of everything in the world in parallel and at the same time. So there's a lot of like this cryptocurrency. And one thing too is they say that every central bank, our central bank in Europe's and China, they're all making their own cryptocurrencies. They won't admit it, but they're all working on it.
But I mean, isn't it also harder to track cryptocurrency payments and things like that? Isn't it harder to lock them down?
One part of it. It's with cryptocurrencies, it wasn't necessarily hard to track. It's easier to stay anonymous.
It's easier to stay anonymous, but there's a ledger. There's like a master ledger that traces all transactions,
and that's how you can't cheat it.
Yeah, but I guess the thing is, like Bitcoin, that shit is not easy to use. Like and that's why if you were to invest in crypto, you better believe one of these state-backed cryptocurrencies, because they're going to have the support that the government's going to put the support there to make sure that the transactions and shit go through. Because they say like, oh yeah, you don't have to pay bank fees. Well, you do have to pay fucking crypto broker fees, which are way higher than fucking bank fees. Like it's kind of bullshit. There's a lot of scam kind of bullshit with that.
There's a whole bunch of misinformation around the whole outskirts of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but in my mind, if a bank is developing its own cryptocurrency, I see it for doing more sketchy things and doing things that helps and build the economy. I mean, they wouldn't build the economy for themselves probably, but
Teddy's on a good point there, because what some economists say is that one thing like Bitcoin or Ethereum, like those cryptocurrencies are outside of a central bank. If a central bank is
Ethereum the new in cryptocurrency?
Yeah. What a lot of people have to
is it newer than Bitcoin?
People have to try to realize is that a cryptocurrency, that term, is think of it as in like creating a new mineral, and there's only a certain amount of it, right? And that's how we know it's got value, because there's scarcity. The problem is when say a central bank is like, we're going to make our own cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. So sure, it does have all the benefits of a cryptocurrency in the sense that the transactions can't be cheated. There's a ledger with everybody has, and it updates amongst everyone, so everybody knows, and everybody's on the same ledger. Problem is, if it's created by a central bank, that central bank could, in the background, have their own market forces or influence behind it.
It's like Oracle said, if only they accept that cryptocurrency, or only they that can interchange with another bank's cryptocurrency, then their brokerage fees they can make it what they want, and you can't do anything really about it if you have
exactly. Then that kind of defeats the even though, so like the security of a cryptocurrency is not does not correlate with its actual value. In the sense, when I mean security, it means the only reason central banks are trying to make their own is because the technology itself is secure.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't cheat it. Like when we did our Bitcoin episode,
mm-hmm.
we talked about the blockchain makes you can't cheat it. You can't just like create wealth that isn't there. That's the security in the technology, but you could use that to try to start any sort of in its own,
mm-hmm.
currency microcosm.
Oh, there are so many cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, just like there's so many right now. And that's the thing is the central banks, they may be able to make more of the convenience. But if they have the same problem, like they may be able to institutionalize the convenience of using
mm-hmm.
it. But if they still have the same problems of these doom cycles, where the doom cycles then basically ruin the value of the actual cryptocurrency itself, or people in general just like like don't use that cryptocurrency because it's like the fucking Federal Reserve fucked it up again. Whereas like Bitcoin, sure, it's volatile, but part of the volatility is because there isn't anyone necessarily controlling it or directly influencing it. It's still kind of a Wild West thing. And one last thing I'll touch on is you probably noticed the Bitcoin prices went down with this recent scare. Also gold and silver, even though I was all like, yeah, I'm buying silver. It's like right now, technically, if you were to take the money I invested in silver, I'm at a loss right now.
Really? Wow, That's surprising.
Silver and gold is down.
But at least you have your coin. We lost Mistic.
Well, right. The thing is, what it is though is these institutions and these big banks, when they find themselves like, oh fuck, they're having to like pay out some of these dues and they're coming up short on money. How they basically have to create more liquidity for themselves, so they take some of their assets. A lot of times it'll be gold, silver, or sometimes bitcoins. You don't kid yourself. Like all the big financial institutions have some sort of investment in cryptocurrencies as well. Nothing enough to that's too volatile to stake a whole lot of bets on, but they're invested in it. That's why Bitcoin and gold have gone down lately. They're starting to come back up a little bit, but they went down sharply because these banks are like, fuck, we need some money. So they sold off like solid assets that they have that aren't tanking, but now they've tanked just because the market's full of like all this extra gold and silver and Bitcoins. But that'll switch back around once shit levels out. So just gotta hold on.
Wow.
Hold on loosely.
So that's the different the financial plagues that we got coming up to us. And I didn't even get started on the medical insurance companies after coronavirus, because I think it's still too much up in the air. But like, for as fucked up as medical insurance companies have been, how do you think coronavirus is gonna fuck that up?
I think they're gonna have to. They're gonna get fucked up. Like the medical system as a whole is gonna get completely fucked up and shaken.
This might be what brings
this proves
like
proves
a
that it can be done.
Right.
That argument, that old tired argument that our country's too big, it can't be done.
Yeah. Well, we're about to find out. That
exactly.
Yeah. So that is basically the economic doom cycle we've got ahead of us, and we don't really know where it's going to go. And on top of that, the world record in like spike in unemployment. What is it, like 3.5 million or something like that?
3.3, I think.
That's how 3.3 people filed for unemployment, which is a record.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Yay is right. Like, and that's the thing is this stimulus package is essentially just, granted, the best thing is, I think, for the economy is throw that all towards the people at the bottom, because at least it will get what we need in hand, or give us a month to limp by for our rent.
But yeah, if it's what is it, March? If we get it till May, you know what I'm saying? It won't matter because you'll be a month behind anyway, or 2 months behind. So.
Well, yeah, and that, I mean, I guess we at least have that benefit of.
He's trying to get reelected, bro.
Just imagine though that
I know.
Cash. I know him, but imagine though, like if you were a restaurant owner, especially a restaurant like maybe just started, and like you're right now you're what they call heavily levered. Basically, just means you're in fucking debt because you borrowed a bunch of money to launch this business, and it's going to take some time to get it going and get traffic, and then slowly pay that debt off, and then boom, shut the fuck down.
Yeah,
great.
Yep.
Depressing.
You know what they need to do?
What?
Hold on loosely.
Don't let go.
Down.
Well, Travis says that we're number one. So,
Right.
Yay.
38
Number
special.
one
Number
in your
one,
hearts.
Yeah, we are number one
Who the
coronavirus.
fuck?
Yep.
Who the fuck
Did
is
you
State
see
Suits?
Louisiana
now
Holy
is
fuck.
number one epicenter?
Really?
New York, as far as new
Already?
cases, exponential.
God damn.
Yeah, they surpassed everywhere in the world. This is like a week ago.
Fucking
You know what
Louisiana,
they think? They think
man.
it's actually it was like New Orleans, the Mardi Gras parties that went on a
Really?
couple weeks ago. Because that's how fucking
That's how dumb people are, dude.
lingers.
Way to go.
I mean, you saw the spring break. I mean, you saw the spring breakers. I mean, I would have, dude. If my trip had been canceled, I still would have gone. I mean, if they hadn't closed the parks, I still would have gone. So, like, this virus does not scare me. I'm not.
The thing is, a lot of people are just like, I don't care. But
okay,
I mean,
so
go ahead.
well,
I was just saying
question.
the problem is that like even if it's not gonna hurt yourself, it's easy to not think our own health isn't much of an issue, but like the greater economy, how fucked it's gonna be by
yeah, and I guess that's
not
where
being scared of this.
my question is on this, because right now, everything is kind of ground to a halt. And we're looking at, if we're going to still follow this shelter in place or whatever the fuck, this is like months longer if we're going to follow the medical models or whatever.
It's only a month.
Or like multiple months, like 3 months or whatever.
Sounds like Wuhan was like what, 2.5, 3 months almost, and and that's like, think how extreme that is. They're just now starting to kind of get.
And we know they're lying about not having
they're
new
fucking,
cases. So don't give me that
lying.
bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, does it get to a point where it's like, man, we gotta do something. We gotta let people work. I mean, what the fuck? What are you gonna do?
I think it gets to a point where your own personal accountability comes into effect. If you are a person that the virus can hurt, stay in the fucking house. I mean, or don't go out as much. I mean, I have been adhering.
Problem is that it sounds like we can. All of us
adhering to the. I mean, like I said, it doesn't scare me, but I have been adhering to the.
Let's get a show of hands, or not say hands, but where? I mean, so me and Mistic are here in Wisconsin. We just had, was it Tuesday? Was the safer at home instead of stay
Wednesday,
at home?
I think. Yeah, it was Tuesday night at midnight. Yeah.
Order by the state, which is essentially like no parties more than 2 people, essentially, and you're not supposed to have anyone at your house other than, like, whether it be roommates or family. You're not supposed to congregate with. What's Rhode Island like right now?
Rhode Island,
fucking war zone.
Actually, Rhode Island's been handling this very well. So it's been
so
pretty
small.
Pretty right. It's too small for coronavirus.
Wait.
We've been kind of doing.
The coronavirus just kind of blew over us.
Any non-essential workers are staying home. Many people are staying home, but it isn't dead by any means. Small businesses are still open. There are no big events.
So they don't have a non-essential business closure order?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
So
we've got one of the lower, especially on the East Coast, one of the lower numbers of coronavirus in the country.
Okay. What about your bars? Are they all closed?
Probably. I think bars and restaurants are closed.
Probably.
I don't know. I don't go out to the fucking bar.
The bars here are closed, and the restaurants are doing takeout only.
Restaurants are takeout.
Delivery only.
Yeah.
But I actually tried to order some delivery today, and it didn't. Grubhub canceled my order. So.
Fuck! Yeah. I wouldn't even use Grubhub or anything. I would, for all our listeners, I would recommend, if it's not calling directly to your place for a carryout, or like a local pizza company that has their own delivery service. Like, fuck Grubhub and all this stuff. Don't even get me started on Grubhub. It's like,
please don't.
I'm just eating at home, man.
It takes
it's
you 2
cheaper.
hours to get
right.
Yeah, I didn't feel like cooking it. Like
food.
I stocked up on groceries. I didn't feel like cooking.
Yeah.
I cooked last night. I didn't feel like cooking tonight. So, and then tomorrow's Friday. So
Yeah.
See, I just buy cheap shit for the kids if I don't feel like cooking. Oh, you want just go make a chili dog?
I would say this. I brought Hot Pockets for the first time.
Oh man, you're fun.
Oh my God, you went
really?
to Hot Pockets?
Yeah, they were like 2 for $4, and I was trying to get something. I'm gonna be stuck in the house.
Let's
get something late at night when I'm stoned. So I got like 4 or 5 things of Hot Pockets. I think they're 2 for $4, so I think I got 8 or whatever.
What kind?
But it was fucking. I got just a bunch of them. Yeah, Philly cheesesteak, hamburger.
Hamburger. I'm sorry. It sounds like a ridiculous flavor.
Or cheeseburger, whatever. I got a bunch of
hamburger.
Why is that ridiculous? I think they have like bacon cheeseburger one or some shit.
Yeah, I think that's what I got. But I just always got hamburger.
It's just straight.
I'm not a junk food.
I don't really like them.
The UP. The
pasties.
Yeah. The pasties. It's like a Hot Pocket with that is just hamburger.
Right.
And some onions.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so
delicious.
You want a pasty?
We're gonna move on to our What's Sexy. Teddy, the Division 2 global event.
So
the Division 2 came out with its first they came out with its first big update a little while ago. But the first global event came out, and the global events added different the Division is a third-person shooter, third-person RPG shooter, but the global events, they added different appeal to. They changed the game up. I mean, 'cause especially when you're doing the same missions over and over on higher difficulties. Why are you laughing?
Because you do this all the time. You explain it one way, and then you just like they change the game up.
Yeah, right. Or it's like they filed.
No, get back to your story. That's fine.
Okay, so anyway, this one is it's called a polarity switch.
Polarity switch.
Polarity switch. You can opt in or opt out of it. You can turn it on and off on the fly. You do get better. You can get better loot for doing this if you have it on. What it does is it turns your one of your guns is positive, one's negative. If you shoot an enemy of the same polarity that your gun you have, you get a stack after you kill them, and the higher the stack, the higher the damage. If you end up shooting an enemy of the wrong polarity, like if you're negative and you shoot a positive guy, you will get shocked. It'll hurt you, it sit you still for a little bit, and if you play on the higher levels like I do, you can't get fucked up really, really quickly. It's like I said, it's fun, changes it up.
So like if you're coming against someone, like you got your one weapon, it's like, oh shit, they're using this weapon, so you have to switch your polarity to get the best of them.
Well,
but it might be like
it's okay in the video. You see the video right here where it's got a little buddy. It's got him. The guys he's shooting at the bottom of his thing. He's got the yellow, and the guys that
you
are
see like yellow or blue, right?
Yellow or blue, right? Yeah. If your gun is blue, you shoot at a blue guy. If your gun is yellow, you shoot at a yellow guy. But you can't switch the polarity of your gun by reloading and doing other things. And you can also switch the polarity.
So it's not necessarily like each gun is one polarity.
No. You can switch the polarities of the guns. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So let's say you're a positive polarity and you shoot someone with a positive polarity. What's the downside of shooting someone?
There's no downside. It's only that's what you're supposed to do. If you shoot somebody of opposite polarity, you get hurt and you lose your stack.
Opposite polarity. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you're supposed to see people with the same polarity.
Well, usually it's opposite polarities attract, so I thought you had whatever.
Yeah, not this one.
All right, moving along. Oracle F1 2019 before coronavirus ruined it all.
So I've been hitting that F1.
I thought you would put The Last of Us on here.
This is my Mistic got me on that F1 train again with the season 2 of the show. What's the show called again on Netflix?
Drive to Survive.
Drive to Survive, yeah. So I actually read reviews about F1 2019 when that came out this past year, and it got really good reviews. And this is probably like the third one that I've purchased. Haven't really stuck with them that long. But Codemasters has pretty much been making the same game for I don't know how fucking long now. And the F1 tracks, they don't change. Or, they change very little. So they just kind of perfect it every year, and they add features. And I feel like this one just has a lot of stuff, the racing and the graphics and stuff. That's really cool. But there's also just kind of cool events in between. It's really dynamic in terms of like weather and having to worry about like your stuff wearing down on you, and the training modules and stuff are really cool. So I've been enjoying it a lot. This game, there's something about it where you can't. I think one reason why I like it so much is you can't let your concentration slip for a fraction of a second.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be so fucking zoned in. Like after I do a race, my eyes are like all fucking like calcified and shit.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
That's why I suck at those games.
I can't fucking see anything.
Oh, why do I have my balls itch or something? Like, oh fuck!
Right. But I mean, anything like the cat moves or something out of the corner of my eye, I fucking just wipe out and crash into somebody.
Dude.
I mean, it's fucking intense. And when you're in it, you're doing it. I only do 25% races in terms of like the length of the race. So I'm doing like 18 laps. I mean, if you're on lap fucking 16 and you bump into the car and you fucking wipe out, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
And I like
you
that.
Imagine the brain power that it takes those Formula One drivers to fucking go around Monaco for 60 fucking 5 laps or whatever it is.
It's fucking insane. Even just playing the video game and doing it, I'm like, the first time I did the first lap, I'm like, is this even fucking real? Like, is this possible?
Yeah.
Is this like, because it's moving by so quickly. It's fucking insane. And for somebody to be doing that in real life it is crazy.
That's why when people fucking say that race car drivers aren't athletes, fuck you, man.
Yeah. And
just from the concentration alone,
right? And this game is legit because it actually shows in the show. Some of the younger drivers, they play F1 2019.
They use it to.
That's what they use as their simulator. Yeah. So it is it's fucking legit. But they have enough accessibility features where you don't have to be a fucking. It's hard as fuck. I mean it. It is.
Look like you're doing all right in the video, bro.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult.
Are you using any assists or anything?
So the assists in terms of like the driving assists, I'm using the racing line. I'm using right now I've got it on like medium difficulty for the drivers. I don't know what other assists are on there, but it's not like it's driving it.
You can turn shit off in a Formula One car. Traction and shit is always on. That's the whole point of them.
I mean the cars, they handle fucking great, wonderfully well, but you're fucking moving so fast.
You have to go fast enough for them to handle that well. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's why it's so fucking hard to do.
And I mean, but there's such a great thrill about, one of the things that I didn't get right away, I was having a difficult time and I was constantly getting fucking wiped out by other cars because I was trying to pass them. And you can't just cut people off and not like totally have a legitimate space there because you will fucking wipe out. So it's this strategy of like, okay, should I go for it? Should I not go for it? And the margin of fucking error.
I always go for it.
I mean, it's inches. You have to,
especially with those cars too. Because if you tap each other, you're fucked. Because they're so intricate.
They're so intricate, and you're going like 170 miles an hour.
Right. Yeah, and they're open wheels, so you're fucking, it's not, that doesn't have a body to reflect the damage.
Shout out to Magic Mike.
Right. Yeah. So it's fucking cool.
It's intense shit, man.
F1 2019. I bought it for PC. I went on, I think, CD Keys. I got it for $15. So
did you see that eNASCAR thing?
No. What's that?
So before we move on, it was a race that they had on iRacing, that fucking computer simulator for racing. And there was 3 professional NASCAR drivers that drove it. They aired it on Fox Sports 1, like the actual live announcers.
Really?
Called the Homestead race. Yeah. And they fucking raced it. It was like fucking Dale Earnhardt Jr. and fucking, I don't know, bigger drivers actually raced this fucking thing in their big old $60,000 simulators and shit.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
It was kind of fun to watch for about 5 minutes. And then I was like,
yeah, right. And it's like, oh, I'm just watching another fucking video game on Twitch.
Right.
Yeah, no, fuck, man. I don't watch video games on Twitch. I masturbate in that time. Like, otherwise, like, get back to real work.
Just do them at the same time, man.
Yeah,
just masturbate while you watch Twitch.
While I watch Twitch? No, I can't do that. No, man, I gotta have.
Why not?
Even in masturbation,
Get
I
your
gotta have some
controller all
focus.
sticky.
That's the only time I can.
Yeah, right.
Is when I watch Twitch.
Yeah, right. Oh man, I can't imagine having the kids at home. You have no private time now.
Nope.
I mean, you don't have to fucking go into the bathroom with your kids.
Oh, yeah, I guess at work.
In
Social
the bathroom
distancing.
at work. Yeah.
Let's go to the bathroom. Yeah, take an extended.
I can bring some Clorox wipes with me. Wipe it up. Good, man.
Just jizz all over the fucking toilet seat.
Jesus Christ.
Come on, man. I'm like 20% serious.
About right?
No, you're like 80% serious.
I mean, if it goes on any longer, sure. Yeah, I mean, we're getting creeping up on a daily thinking about it. Just blast one all over the stall downstairs.
Hey,
There's gonna be no one there.
Press out some way, I guess. Right.
Right. Yeah.
All right, we'll move along to Mistic Hazard Pay. Speaking of
hazard pay,
jerking off in the bathroom, getting hazard pay.
You're gonna pay me $75 extra per day.
Fuck yeah!
Jerk off in their bathroom.
Yeah.
So.
That's fucking good, man.
Yeah. It's actually not bad at all.
Right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. What?
I hope
what
none of your management watches our show.
No, but you goddamn it. Are you kidding me? Nobody at my work knows I do this.
Yeah, right?
I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
Fuck?
Oh, come on. Guys act like we're fucking burning babies or something.
Whereas me, it's like my coworkers know.
Douchebags we are.
I've been doing this podcast for what? How many years have we been doing this now?
I don't know.
7, 8.
And
it's like,
yeah.
You know, my coworkers know about it. Fucking don't watch it.
Yeah, right. Nobody cares.
Crickets.
Hey, one of my coworkers tuned in tonight. I don't know if he's still there.
I mean, instantly, whenever you say, "Hey, I got a podcast," people are like, "Fuck off."
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I know.
Yeah,
like
there was a time when it was cool.
8 years ago.
Yeah, when we first started doing it.
And now everybody's got one.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I know, right?
Word.
Well, now, especially with the coronavirus internment, have you seen how many people are like,
so many people
live
are
streaming
fucking doing
DJ
shit.
session?
Yeah.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Like them in their living
so
room.
many people are doing shit.
And they're like, why is Facebook keeps like, you know, shutting me down because of my music? It's like, yeah, because you're playing someone else's music.
Exactly. Oh yeah, they are so like, even sometimes when I stream video games, the fucking bots will shut my shit down.
Is it just like the background music?
Yeah, it's the back. It's always the background music for stuff like that. That's why for like videos on our stream too, I kind of don't play a lot of fucking like bigger commercial shit because it's fucking insane.
If you turn the audio off?
Doesn't matter with the audio on some of it. They'll do the video too.
Fuckers.
Yeah.
Even through the video?
Yeah, it's fucking asinine.
I guess.
And then I have to put in a fucking...
probably figure out the user interface and stuff like that.
It's ridiculous.
All the static things. Sons of bitches. All right,
Sons
moving
of
along.
bitches.
What's sexy? Ashtray, that's me. Dumbass liquor. Not liquor as in booze liquor, but this guy. I
Oh yeah,
shared
look
a
at this
picture with
dude.
the Oracle and a link here, but this fucking idiot. Went in Missouri man has been charged with licking items at Walmart to mock the coronavirus.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh wow.
He looks like a liquor. Cody Lee Fister.
This is
26.
what's sexy?
Well, my what's sexy is just that like they actually charged him with like a terrorist threat.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
I mean, it's Missouri, but at least they're like, you know, fuck you, man. We're not gonna let you do this and you know, get away with it as far as without any consequences.
Mm-hmm.
It is the show me state. You'll show you.
Actually, what they probably said was, "We're gonna have to make an example of you, boy."
Yeah,
right. That is probably what they said.
Yeah. You know what? Because you're white, we're gonna take your mugshot before you have to go down on us.
Yeah, right. Before we blow it all over your face. What?
That got real dark real quick.
Right.
Yeah. Moving along here.
We're gonna stream our own video, boy.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm on.
Right. We're gonna yeah. We're gonna show you now. Not how to switch. All right, we're gonna switch gears here to our fuck what you think. Moving on to Mistic, which is blank. What was your fuck what you think, Mistic?
I forgot.
All right, think about it. We'll come back to you. Me. I'm the next fuck what you think. Eating at home is my fuck what you think.
Eating at home.
Like the rest of fucking adults in America.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right, like normal people.
Well, when I'm single, it's like, you know, I went to the grocery store, got, you know, stocked up on some food because I can no longer, you know, eat at my preferred establishments with the convenience. And yeah, now it's just like, oh shit, this is all going bad. I gotta fucking eat it now. So when you're just one person eating at home,
watch you buy it all.
Pain in the ass. Oh well, part of it too was so I got like a bunch of donated food from Baldwin, when you know, because they're closing up. It's like, well, we're just gonna donate what we have in our food stocks. But
they didn't give it to the homeless; they gave it to you.
Yeah.
Well, he's about to be homeless.
I mean, granted, any of the homeless patrons who, if they had their cell phones, would have got the notification. What are they gonna?
Well,
go?
If they got to give away food, why not go to the local, homeless shelter? Like, hey,
probably because I'm just those kind of donations right now. Who knows?
Oh, they're not.
Or just like basically they hit up their, they hit up their friends. It's like, anybody need stuff while we're getting rid of it? Maybe some stuff like some of the potatoes were just like they had a bunch of potatoes. Maybe those went to homeless shelter. I don't know. But I got myself a big fucking bag of spring mix and a whole bunch of eggs.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that bag of spring mix gonna last you about 3 days.
Oh yeah, that's all it did. I had to eat the shit out of that. So it's gone already. I had to eat it because it was it doesn't last that long. But that's just like fuck.
What's spring mix?
Spring mix is it's a salad mix.
Excited about a salad mix? What the fuck?
Right?
No, I'm not excited about it. It was just
I just buy heads of lettuce.
I just told him it was gonna last him like 3 days. I don't see why it was. How was that excitement? Nothing. Continue.
No, just nice. It was free food, but
Ashtray was excited about this.
Oh,
I was excited in the sense that like
he's excited because he stole food from homeless people. He got the call and said homeless Joe.
Stole that spring mix from a homeless person who had no friends.
So he's got So his fuck what was that homeless man about having too much
bag of
his fuck is bitching about having too much food that he didn't pay for.
That's his fuck you think. Homeless person, if you gave him a bag of spring mix, he'd be like, "Get the fuck out of my face with this shit."
It's kind of cold enough this year.
Am I a fucking joke to you? Fucking piece of shit.
I'm thinking of the dude's reaction when he gets a fucking just a bag of spray. It's fucking like a banana or some shit. Like, what the fuck?
Man. Oh shit! I fucking cried.
It's a can. I want some tuna.
Yeah, I know.
You put tuna on the spring mix. Make it
salad.
Oh man.
Teddy, who's also blank.
My fuckers think it's y'all crackers. Move it along.
You son of a bitch. Don't expect me to do your work if you're.
Oh wait, and I remember what Mystic's fuck what you think was too. By the way,
what was it?
What is it?
The N word.
Oh yeah, duh.
You said at the beginning of the show you didn't think anybody could say it.
Refresh your memory. Hold on, Oracle.
So I'm fucking watching at work last Saturday. I have nothing to do except one package that's like 3 minutes long. It's almost done. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and watch some TV and get stoned. So I'm watching fucking, like something about fucking drug dealing. It was like Drugs Inc. on Vice or something like that, right? And they had some dudes from Baltimore. And so fucking, I'm watching this shit, and this other editor comes down. His name's Clay. It's just a white kid, 24, something like that. And he's like, what's this dude talking about over here? Like, because we were talking, and then he looks at the fucking screen, and it's like some big fucking fat black dude in a ski mask, with this voice all. He's like, we're out there slanging that dope, man.
What the fuck?
Was it like distorted voice?
How they have those? Yeah, just distorted voice because he wants to hide his identity. So you know what I mean? It's like one of those shows and shit.
Yeah.
This Clay guy is like, what the fuck's he talking about? I'm like, I don't know, man. It's Baltimore, nigga. And I just said it like it just came out. That's
how you talk Baltimore.
But I shouldn't have said that word. Why? Why did I say that word? That's why fuck what you think. I shouldn't be saying shit like that, man. Nobody should. If you want to, that's your choice. But like that shouldn't just pop out and be the first thing I thought of when I think of Baltimore. And it's because of the show The Wire. It has to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Other than that, I don't really know anything about Baltimore.
It was a prosopopoeia.
Well, I
like turned to Clay. Anyway, I turned to Clay though, and I was like, sorry, man. He's like, I don't know where the fuck that came from. White? He's white. He's like, man, I get it. He's like, I've told people faggots all the time.
You crackers been doing that all the time.
Yeah, right.
What are you all concerned about?
Eddie, I don't care if I stayed around you. Shut up.
No, but you caught yourself.
I use all racial epithets freely.
Do you?
Yeah. Fuck.
All right, let's get this going, Kite.
Right. I don't know.
Mooly bastards.
Years ago, and we did a show years ago about fucking racism, and I think kind of one of the big takeaways is we were just fucking dropping like every single slur that you could possibly think of, and and they're like, well, what's the harm in that or whatever, and I think that my viewpoint has changed over the years. I don't think that I don't think there should be like a hyper vigilance, like social fucking justice craziness, cancel culture thing around it. But I do think that I think differently, and I think about kind of the systemic type stuff that you're talking about, Mystic, about like, well, I've associated it with that, and by me saying that, it perpetuates that.
Exactly. Thing. And I didn't want to. It just that's what came out when I thought of the city of Baltimore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it shouldn't.
Oh yeah. I got it. I think a lot.
Niggas, let's go. Keep it going. I mean, growing up mostly in I grew up mostly in the South because I lived in Nashville and everything else. I mean, when a white person calls you that word, that is their trump card. That is what they expect to see. Like when they call you that, they expect to see. What the fuck you call me?
You get pissed off.
Right.
They expect to see pissed off, and they expect to see fucking, I guess, shit like you said from The Wire, like Baltimore type shit.
Yeah.
You ever seen Boondocks, the cartoon?
Yeah.
Like episode here.
He has an episode. He has an episode season 1's called a nigga moment. But like it explains. It's actually pretty funny. It explains a lot. But I mean, it's so I guess I'm kind of like, it doesn't. I know when Mystic is saying it, he's not saying it to me. He's just saying it.
Right. Yeah.
So it doesn't really bother me. And also, if he was saying it to me, I don't think it really bothered me because I mean, I'm so used to fucking be like, okay, well.
I always say it's contextual.
If a white dude calls me a nigga, I'm like, your mother usually asks,
fuck me with.
It
totally is contextual, and it's about the way you say it too. Because I mean, you could say "fuck" to be hurtful. You can say any word to be hurtful the way you say it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You drop a hard R on it.
It doesn't matter.
Like you're saying, like in the context of just you and another white dude, like talking about Baltimore. Where it's just like, like, and like that shouldn't have been the first thing that came to mind.
I shouldn't. Yeah, it really shouldn't have been.
And it's those kind of.
You say it wrong. That's all.
It's those automatic.
I mean, honestly, like I said, a lot of black folks.
It's a Freudian slip.
Oh well, shit. I mean, I grew up thinking that like, like these are just. Like lighthearted jokes. It's like, it's easy to say because there's no one of that color or race, whether it be, black people or Jewish people or whatever. It's like there's no one around growing up in my little hometown to be offended. So it's easy to just be like, just kind of like
against it, yeah.
Lighthearted jokes, but those jokes were passed down from generations before you, and then like they reinforce old stereotypes. And granted, I mean, it's all stereotypes, linger.
Ashtray, how drunk are you?
I'm super drunk.
He's super drunk. But anyway, like I was trying to say earlier, like
Mystic, have you come up with your what the fuck would you say?
For God's sakes, can I say my statement?
That's what we're talking about.
Oh wait, now, who was it who didn't put their teddies?
Holy shit!
Oh my fucking God, you drunk bastard! Anyway,
I'm drunk. I'm in quarantine, bitch.
God damn it! So Mystic had made a point saying it was contextual earlier,
and
but I think it's more greatest show ever. I think it's more about who you say it around. Because some people will get angry just for the fact hard R A whatever, doesn't matter. They're gonna get pissed regardless. Because it's a white person.
Yeah, like they will take it outside the context.
You got to be able to read a room,
Yep.
This is true.
I mean, I'm not walking into the ghetto of Baltimore and saying something like that. And if I did and it slipped out, I deserve to get shot because that's fucked up. I'm way more racist than that. What?
Have you seen the video of the white guy in the rap battle who got smacked? It was like he got like an eye.
He just went net and whack.
I mean, I just feel like at that point it's like, why even go there?
Well,
it's just fucking drop.
I think I had this as fuck. What do you think though? Like, what your views? And I'm surprised it didn't get much more press coverage other than just a blip at the time. But when Kendrick Lamar like brought some white fan up and like had them like told them to sing along with them.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
And then he's like called them out on them using the N-word on stage.
And that's the lyrics.
And then shame them in front of the entire.
Dude, that's so fucked up.
That's
that is.
Oh, that's so
exactly.
Like,
that is so fucked up.
That's why I feel like it's whatever the word is, whether regardless if it's a racial slur or just just a nasty word, it's always context. If I'm singing along to a hip hop song that I like, I don't feel like I am taking it outside of the context of singing along with the song that I like.
Dude, that is such a dick move. That is
it's a total dick move.
Unbelievable dick move.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
All right,
so is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Oracle.
I think we're going up on like 2 hours.
To do your work. If you're
13.
self-quarantine, motherfucker.
Yeah, don't expect me to do your work when you're working from home or whatever. So I've been going into my work, which is basically an empty classroom in a building, for the past few weeks. I'm delivering my online classes to my students and all the shit that I'm doing with that. And there are basically in a building where might be like, I don't know, 30 people in there. On an average day, there's probably like 3 people in that building now. And many of these different departments, you know, so there's like a mental health thing, there's a youth center thing, there's a blah, blah, blah. They don't have anybody. Is it kind
of like a strip mall of state-run things?
Well, it's the organization that I work for, the nonprofit, and it's got all of this stuff in one building. So we basically have different a school. Yeah, and they have different areas, and so people show up and they're looking for these other places. They're trying to do business with them, drop paperwork or not, whatever. And I fucking happen to be the guy that's there. And it's just like, and they want answers to the shit. And it's like, I don't fucking know.
Completely unrelated shit.
Exactly. Yeah. This is unrelated to what I'm doing. By the way, I'm still teaching online classes, which is, I'm busier.
I'm in the middle of a class.
Exactly. I'm busier now than what I would be if I was doing face-to-face classes. I mean, it's fucking nonstop trying to troubleshoot all this stuff because my students don't speak English and they're fucking old. So they don't know how to use computers and cell phones and shit. So, you know, and that's fine, but that's my job. Yeah. I'm not doing your fucking job. So if you're not going to show up into the office, which is fine, we're doing this social distancing or whatever, at least have a fucking plan to handle this stuff.
Right, or have a sign.
Exactly.
For the people who show up physically.
Right.
So basically, it's like people show up physically and they're asking you, hey, Oracle.
And that's putting me at risk. You know, when I answer the door today, none of my students are coming in. I haven't seen one of my students face-to-face in 2 weeks. So in my interactions, I'm actually having much less interactions at my workplace than I would going basically anywhere. I talk to one person or whatever. So yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, just because you're working from home doesn't mean that you're off the hook. And I'm fucking here. And I'm fucking busting my ass in my schedule. It's like coming down to the wire every day. It's like, holy shit, I'm trying to get this stuff done. So, yeah.
So, I guess why, or is it, are you hosting the online class? Are your online classes just like, are they like a video thing or?
So, I make videos. I have a website.
Are you doing them all in the office?
Yes, I do it all in the office. I could do all that stuff here, but I'm doing it just for mental health reasons, just to fucking get out of the house.
No, I totally understand you there. I guess like I was just wondering like if you had to be there, but at the same time, it's like it's an excuse to not be in the fucking
absolutely
house.
Don't have to be there, but I'm gonna go.
Keeps your regular normal routine.
Keeps my schedule. I fucking drive. You know, I was listening to Kenny Rogers on my way into work today. Tell you what,
God bless his soul.
Motherfucking Kenny Rogers, he had some dark ass fucking lyrics. Like I never really listened to Kenny Rogers. First song I listened to today was about this dude. His dad tells him not to fucking fight. His girlfriend gets gang raped by 3 guys. He goes into a bar and fucking kills the 3 brothers. And then for some reason, everybody thinks he's a coward because he like shoots him in the back of the head. And it's like,
that's a fucking Kenny Rogers song?
That's a Kenny Rogers song.
What's it called?
I can't remember. The next song I listened to from Kenny Rogers, Vietnam vet is at home. He's paralyzed from the waist down. His whore fucking wife is going out in the town to get banged, and he's pleading with her not to go out into town, but he's fucking paralyzed. Depressing. And that's the end of the song.
That's the most depressing shit that I've ever heard in my life.
Dude, there's no resolution.
You guys make fun of me for listening to fucking cattle decapitation.
Flesh God Apocalypse doesn't have shit on fucking Kenny Rogers.
Yeah, Flesh God a fucking man, that's fucked up.
Right. So Travis says coward of the county. Fucking Kenny Rogers, man.
Is that really the name of the song?
Damn. Probably. The song literally it ends.
Wait, so is the coward the Vietnam vet?
No, the coward is the guy that
take yourself to town.
Ruby's the Vietnam vet telling Ruby not to go into town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking dark ass shit. Kenny Rogers. That's all I got.
Boom.
Sons of bitches. All right, so Teddy, what's your fuck what you think?
I said you crackers. Let's keep it going, niggas. Go.
All right, well then that's it. In all seriousness, go fuck yourself, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Wow.
That is our show.
God, you are fucked up, bro.
Tulsa ever do to you? Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Well, hey, fucking quarantine, bitch. We're gonna be here every Wednesday or Thursday. Who knows now with the quarantine? Maybe we'll be here every other day. Usually about 10 p.m. Central. Make sure you join the conversation at the RedEyeReport.com or Facebook.com/RedEyeReport. You can also twiddle us. We don't even use it, so fuck it. Like us, share us, fuck us. We're down for whatever, because I am the Ashtray.
I'm Oracle.
Go ahead, Teddy. Go ahead.
Fuck it, I'm Teddy.
I'm Mystic.
Whatever happened to Mystic not? And this is the Red Eye Report. Whatever happened to Mystic not wanting to be last? There was a time
since you guys started having your standoff.
Well, I think it wasn't necessarily a standoff, but it usually be Teddy was asleep.
Yeah,
and then we'd be like,
yeah. Because
I think it coincided with the time that I started eating my marijuana.
That's
now
funny.
I just don't care.
Well, now you can work on fucking episode murals, Ashtray. Fucking catch up, asshole.
Right. Touche.
Fucking 14 left to go, huh?
Fucking
Touche.
Right. No excuse now, Ashtray. All that graphic design time. Instead of watching fucking Game of Thrones and cutting up magazines, which is what I've been doing, like probably fucking 8 hours today.